people want to know, was COVID-19 virus, was that a lab leak, or was that a virus that came from an animal reservoir that eventually infected human? I'm curious to see what your thoughts are.
Sure.
And how do we figure that out?
Well, I'll give a synoptic version of what I said in the book. And that is, in order to be open and honest about things, we don't know definitively, but let's look at data. Since we are scientists and physicians, let's look at the data. Between 75 and 80% of all the new infections emerge from an animal reservoir. That is pretty impressive, number one. Number two, we do not know whether it came from a lab somewhere in China or whether it was a natural occurrence from an animal reservoir. Recall SARS-1 in 2002, which was shown very clearly in the wet markets of China, where the animal-human interface inappropriately gets together, where you bring in animals from the wild, and it was felt that it was a bat, which harbors these coronaviruses, to a civet cat, to a human. If you look at the situation in Wuhan, and you look at where are the data of there being a lab leak are zero. There's none. I mean, there is an extrapolation. Well, it happened in Wuhan, and there were labs in Wuhan, so therefore it must have come from a lab. Well, maybe it did, but there's no evidence that it did. Yet, some very qualified, internationally recognized evolutionary virologists from Australia, Canada, the European Union, UK, and the United States have made it very clear that when they went and looked at the data, they felt comfortable but not definitive. They felt that the data strongly suggest it came from an animal interface. But I have always said, I keep an open mind. So until we get definitive data, always keep an open mind. But if you look at the data that we have right now and what the evolutionary virologists think, they strongly favor it being a natural jump from an animal species to a human.